Dr. Stephen Greer explains counterintelligence and misinformation. He thinks the UFO disclosure movement has been hijacked by a particular group of people. We're going to dive into who he thinks those people are. He might have got a hint from the thumbnail. Yes, Dr. Stephen Greer does not think too highly of To the Stars Academy, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and whoever else involved. So we got a couple clips to look at. And stay tuned to the end. I got a couple channel updates, that sort of thing. Nothing crazy. So look, let's jump in, y'all. What do we say, vetters? If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, y'all. We put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And of course, if you like this video, please hit that like button. That really helps us out a lot. Of course, comment down below of what you think of Dr. Stephen Greer and his comments here that I'm about to show. I don't think I've really covered him much on the channel. So, yeah, let's dive in. And I'm just going to start the clip, and let's go, y'all.
Through TTSA had their counterparts that had been going into the president's office providing some information, but a lot of disinformation. So the way really good counterintelligence works, or disinformation works, is that at the core of it, there's some truth. So they'd say, okay, the aliens are here, and here's some evidence, but they're a threat to the national security, and we need to have the Space Force.
Wow, Space Force.
And they get into this thing called the White House and the national security state, and they're completely at the mercy of the people who are going to brief them, and the ones who are assigned and cleared to talk about this issue, by definition, have been in those clandestine operations. I did a video brief for the president, vice president, and also for President Putin. Now, the problem is, by the time I had good access, they had already been, unfortunately, quite brainwashed on this, had already taken policy steps that included the Space Force creation and what have you, and then we were running up against the election.
So that's interesting, y'all. Right? He's basically saying in that clip that, TTSA is feeding false information to the public, i.e. lying to the public, right, about UFO disclosure, right? Because Stephen Greer is also famous. I've seen him in a lot of interviews say, like, look, a lot of the UFOs that are seen are our tech. It's our stuff. And sometimes he says it's just our advanced tech. Other times he says it's our advanced tech that we reverse engineered from UFOs. Other time he says it's our UFOs. Like, they are UFOs, but they're ours, right? And I don't know. He's hard to understand. He does a lot of stuff with Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, CE5. I don't know, right? He has a different narrative than a lot of the other people. I mean, that is true. He stands in his kind of his own path. And I'm curious, right? Like, why that is. Like, he's very divisive in the UFO community. Let's be real, right? People either love him or hate him, or go back and forth on him. He does release good documentaries. I've seen his last few that he's put out. They are interesting to watch, to say the least. But yeah, he's interesting. I don't know. The CE5 and all that, don't know anything about that. So not really going to comment on that. But these comments are interesting, right? Because is he just upset that he didn't get to the president first? Right? Is it sort of a competitive thing? Because Dr. Stephen Greer, people will argue he was at the forefront, right, for a long time. Different press club announcements he's made. The 90s were quite interesting for him, briefing certain presidents and things that he says he's done. So he's also insinuating here that President Trump has been compromised. Let's be real. There's quite a lot of bombshells from that 1 minute, at least him insinuating. He's insinuating that President Trump got compromised by these other people who fed him lied to the president. Think about that. That's what he's saying. They lied to the president to get him to pass certain legislation, right? The Space Force. So he's saying like the Space Force is literally in direct relation to UAPs and whatnot. Like that's why I got started. Yeah. And that when he got there and tried to tell him stuff, they were just like, well, we have this other information. So he's like, I showed up, to the party late, So I don't know. Is that it? Or what information does he have that like, how do you know that they're feeding false information? TTSA, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, right? Like I haven't seen anything that he's shown that like, this is why he just says they're doing it, right? So look, this is from we're going to watch a portion of a trailer from a documentary that he made called UFO Endgame to Disclosure. And just where he kind of reiterates some of these things. So I found that interesting. And also another interesting point is that all of Dr. Stephen Greer's documentaries, at least the last few ones that have come out, are all produced by a company you may be familiar with us covering on the channel. 1091 Pictures. If that sounds familiar, well, that's because that's the same company that got bought out by Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. And that's the same company that James Fox produced his films. And he's suing. So is Dr. Stephen Greer also in the same position where he's also suing 1091 and having issues? And how interesting is it that Dr. Stephen Greer, what he says about Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, James Fox supports those people. And they're under the same studio releasing films. I don't know what that means, but that is interesting. You know, a lot of times these studios, you go to functions, you kind of know what other projects are being produced by them, right? So I just find that interesting that the same company would produce completely conflicting accounts of this, right? So it could either show you that 1091 just has no skin in the game, meaning they're just for freedom of films and letting people do what they do, right? But I do find that interesting. Why would James Fox choose a studio that supports a narrative completely different from his? Or does he know, or does it matter? Or vice versa? Why would Stephen Greer choose? Is it just that's the only studio? I don't know. Just throwing these questions out, y'all. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments, but I do find that interesting. Because look, real quick, I'll show you. How do I? Here. So 1091, like they have the Lost Century trailer, and you can find all his trailers on there. So I mean, it's simple. They show it in the trailers and stuff. So you're about to see it in this one as well. All right, here we go.
The disclosure movement has been hijacked by people parroting the narrative and the script being written by these black projects. I would say 90+% of everything that's going to come out is false.
The most widely seen UFO right now is not alien, it's actually ours.
It's a great cover story for all kinds of criminal activities. Blame it on the aliens, right?
If we are being visited by interdimensional beings, we should know about it.
This has the big disadvantage of the truth being much more unbelievable than the fiction.
It's the crash retrievals that are the Rosetta Stone for solving the UFO cover-up.
The implications of this is the difference between extinction level civilization versus one that's going to take off to the stars.
Was that a dig at To the Stars there at the end? Right? It seemed like a subliminal dig to the stars. I just noticed that now. I never noticed that before. But yeah, it's interesting, you know, that Stephen Greer says that stuff, right? Like, I find that quite fascinating about Dr. Stephen Greer. You know, why doesn't he interact with certain other people? Well, there you go. There you have it, right? He just thinks a completely different thing, just completely different. Watch a lot of his interviews. Like, it's so completely different. So what does that mean? I don't know. I'm curious to read the comments here, y'all. What y'all think of him? What y'all think of his comments about counterintelligence, misinformation, TTSA, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, right? Like, I mean, again, the statements he made, y'all. Again, let's reiterate. He said that the President Trump got compromised, that he was lied to about UFO, right? The majority of it, like he was told some truth, but the majority of it was lies. which led them to pass certain legislation, start the Space Force. And by the time Dr. Stephen Greer got there, he couldn't talk to the president because he was compromised. He had been told other things, didn't believe him, right? And then he's saying TTSA was like formed to feed false information to the public. I mean, these are major allegations. But I don't see any pushback from Elizondo, Mellon, any of these people like, hey, man, this is nonsense. What are you talking like? At least I haven't. Maybe someone can point me in the comments to a response from them about Dr. Stephen Greer. Because he's so hit or miss for me. I'll watch something sometimes with him, and I'm like, that sounds interesting. And then I'll watch some other stuff and be like, what in the actual F? Like, so I don't know, right? Is it possible that part of what he says is true and other stuff is not? Yeah, of course, right? I mean, but which parts, right? Because again, those are pretty strong allegations. And we have another election year coming up, right? This is election year. It's 2024, y'all. We will have either reelected the same president at the end of 2024 here, or we will have elected a new president. And election year is always insane, right? Now, granted, they come every 4 years, and usually they start, honestly, campaigning right after the one election, right? So I don't know. How is this all going to play into this, right? Is he going to make more accusations this year, right, as well? I'm sure. Let's be real, right? So I don't know, yo. Just so curious about that. So can't wait to read the comments. All right, real quick, I'm going to do a quick update on a little channel thing here. So remember I made that video about Jeremy Corbell and that TMZ documentary that's coming out next week, the 9th through the 11th, right? And again, the 9th is when the House Oversight Committee is having like a private hearing where they're going to be getting information on David Grush's Inspector General report. At least that's what's being reported. And potentially, like, there's going to be more, private hearings where they're going to be bringing in these witnesses to start talking. At least supposedly that's what Congress is going to, or, the people going into the meeting are going to demand that, hey, we want to see these witnesses. That's from Daniel Sheehan. So we'll see. Saw that on Twitter. Anyway, I didn't think it was big enough to make a whole video on it. All right. I do want to show you this. So I made that video. Okay, Jeremy Corbell, all that. And guess who commented? Guess who came to the video and commented? Jeremy Corbell. So I'm going to read you his comment, and I just thought that was fair to show that. Thought that was pretty respectful of him to come and comment. Okay? I thought that was pretty cool. He got some respect from me, for sure. So let me see if I can actually make this a little easier to read. Okay. All right, that's good enough here. All right, it says, hey, Patrick, thank you for asking the questions on people's minds. I appreciate the work you are doing by keeping people up to date with what's shaking in the UFO world. You pose so many questions in your video, I can't answer them all in a simple response post. However, I do believe some of your questions will be answered in the 3-part series that's about to be released. Either way, taking a sober and open-minded approach to both sides of the coin will always serve you and your audience. Know that sometimes the answers are more simple than you think, and also that people in general are doing the best with the cards they have been dealt. And ultimately, the cards you're dealt don't matter unless you play them. So I look forward to folks watching the new series and hopefully getting their basic questions answered, so we can focus on the most important questions like, what in the world does the UFO reality represent to humanity? Anyway, my friend, keep up the excellent work. I'm a fan of your tone and approach. This will be a powerful year for the UFO mystery. So I left him a nice little respectful response. Again, someone comes into your home, you treat them with respect, y'all. That's how I was raised, and that's how we do it here in Texas. So I just thought I'd be open with that, put that comment down there. And part of my response was asking, maybe we can have a conversation. Maybe I can interview Jeremy Corbell. We can sit down and have a conversation, because I am going to try to get some interviews, y'all. Y'all want me to do some interviews? I'm going to do some interviews. So we're going to try to reach out to some people, and I think we're going to be just fine. And yeah, we're going to do some interviews here in 2024 here. So probably sooner than later. We'll see. I don't know. I'll keep y'all updated. But again, just thought I'd be transparent and show this. So if you want, go to the Jeremy Corbell video. I pinned it at the top. Feel free to show some love. Respond however you want. I'm sure he'll come back and read those responses. And yeah, and I told him, hey, I'm sure I'll be making a video on the TMZ series, right? Let's be real. I am going to watch it. So, all right, y'all. Hope y'all, oh, one last thing real quick. Okay. This will be the last time I talk about it. So, disclosure tonight, all of that, Mike disclosure, that video I made and all that. I said I was going to do a follow-up video, whatnot. I'm not going to do a follow-up video, y'all. Just moving on from it, taking my distance, and I'm not going to do a follow-up video. So this is it. This is me talking about it for the last time. I wish him well, but I'm going to distance myself and the show. So plenty of other people. I've been reached out to by a lot of other people that want to sort of collaborate and do some stuff. So, you might see me on some other shows. And you might see me on some other shows talking about some stuff, y'all. So anyway, what do y'all think of Stephen Greer, y'all, in this? I'm telling y'all, he is interesting. And again, he does put out good documentaries, whether you agree with them or not. They're well put together, and there is some interesting information. I actually did quite enjoy the Lost Century documentary, if I'm being honest. That was interesting. That was interesting. So again, yeah, he says some interesting stuff, and then other times it's just like, what? It's the same person? I tell you what, there's a great interview on Theories of Everything with Dr. Stephen Greer. Kurt did a great job interviewing him. That's a really good interview to watch, by the way. So anyway, y'all, thank y'all again for watching, Vetters. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. We'll see what we put out tomorrow. Look forward to it. Remember, every day's a gift. Peace, y'all.